Hey guys, welcome back to this channel. Hope you have a wonderful day. My name is Ronnie. I'll be your host as always. If you guys are new to this channel, I talk about a lot of things when it comes to personal finance. Well, cash flow in a sense of understanding money, my personal finance, and how I go about doing things in order to achieve, well, more income, more cash flow, be retired early, and everything's in between. In today's conversation, talking about who really own your property. A few days ago, I had a conversation. It was a rather interesting conversation. I came from a headspace where I actually already paid off my investment property, paid my principal place of home in full with no mortgage. This particular person, it was funnily enough, it was a mortgage broker, out of all aspect what he does for a living. And their situation at the current stage have one investment property as well as one principal place of home. So I guess two property. Whereas versus us, we've got quite a few more. So the headspace as I guess if you want to achieve what I achieve is having less debt. In people's, I guess other people's perspective, it might be a bit different in aspect of the current situation in their world. You will never pay off your mortgage. You should never pay off debt. You should leverage as much as you can. Now, I'm trying to understand, if you leverage, who really own your property? From my perspective, is the bank own your property. Then you, as a second in the second steps, I guess, of ownership, it will be one is the bank and two is the second owner, will be you. Now, you guys, well, technically speaking, it's actually in his world, in essence, would be you the owner and then the bank is the owner. So we're having a debate on this. In his world, it's like, well, it's actually my house because I got the bills. You got the bills. You don't own the property. You don't really own the property until such time as you really are actually have the title, have the deed, have the physical deed with no string attached to anyone else. I try to explain that because if you were, let's say, the owner, in a sense, if you don't have any payment, you technically are the owner. You're 100% are the owner. Whereas if you are on a mortgage and you're leveraging debt and you're borrowing 80% of that, of 80% of the loan, let's say 80% value of it, then effectively the financial institute is own the property because they own 80% of it and you only own 20% of it. So percentage wise, they own it. They're winning on the percentage wise. And I must admit, when I first started property investing, I was like, yes, I'm the owner of the property because I've got the council rate, the water rate. Don't really have the title yet because I borrowed money from the bank using the title as a security, using the house as a security. If anything happened in the aspect of if you cannot make any payment to the bank, they have the rights to keep your property and unsell it to someone else. Now, some people think that you own it because you are number one and the bank is number two. I beg to differ. If you don't make a payment to the bank, you're technically number two. Yes, you're number one in the aspect of if you keep on paying the mortgage, then yeah, the bank will let you keep it. But if you, for some whatever reason, cannot make any payment to the mortgage anymore, they're entitled to sell on your property. I must admit, when I started this, I thought I was the owner until the day that I actually pay the mortgage in full. Then technically I'm 100% is the owner. The thought process, what you're trying to achieve, what I realize is this, that I'm gonna be a bit different. I try to buy everything in cash, not leveraging debt, not being in credit card or consumer debt. Now I'm tackling the biggest debt there is, which is a mortgage. A mortgage is one of the biggest debt, so I treat that as a consumer debt now. So if you didn't work out the numbers just yet, on a typical 30-year mortgage, if you pay the bare minimum and over the long time or long term of the mortgage, you're technically paying double over 30 years. But some people look at it over 30 years, you're banking that the property value would be more than double over the 30 years. Meanwhile, the bank's sitting there and just collecting the money every week, every month, every fortnight on everyone's, mortgage repayment. So, understanding how money works, it is important. I kind of wish I knew this in the beginning. Had I known this earlier on, probably would not buy a mortgage, would not purchase a mortgage. So, who really owns your property? Just because you bought it? Just because you got the mortgage? Technically, you don't really own it. The mortgage company owns it. Technically, you don't really own it in full. And also, you don't really own it until you such time pay the mortgage in full. Surely, there's a lot of, companies or wealth creation pump companies. They'll say you should leverage debt, get a mortgage as much as you can, because once you get it, you can't get it out. You would rather have that mortgage and the portability of transferring that mortgage from one property to another instead of unable to get a loan, unable to get a credit. For me, it's not having any credit. It's a good thing. It's a blessing, because in a sense, you come out with a zero slate, you start with nothing fresh. If you can save up instead of 20%, how about 40%? How about 60, 80, 100% when you're buying investment property or when you're buying your principal place of home? It feels much lighter. It feels like you don't have to commit. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to commit it financially, that is. You have to earn X amount of dollars in order for you to service this property. So, had a dinner last night, had that conversation again, and even another couple, even they say the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, we live in an era where possibly are unable to pay the house in full at the retirement age. We live in an era where possibility it will be by the time you retire, you would not pay your house in full. You still have debt when you retire, and that got me open up my eyes a lot when this person actually spoke to me about this, because that is the norm. The norm is you get a big enough mortgage, big enough debt, and you pay it off over 30 years. And you have to live in a job, working in a job over 30 years. You have to work until you are 65 minimum. So from the time that you're working, let's say 20 something, so at about 60s, No, maybe when you already are in your career, maybe it's on your 30s, like you're in a sort of like you full on concentrate on your career in your 30s. So, and about in your 60s, you should already pay it off. Maybe not. Maybe in a small amount of debt of your mortgage when you're in 60s. In the condition that when you do sell it, you're able to downsize and you pay that in full and you don't have any more mortgage. But now some people's mentality is like, I'll never be able to pay this. I know for sure when I retire, I'm still gonna have this debt. And apparently some people accept that. I don't want to accept that. I want to be the other way around. I want to pay off the mortgage as quickly as possible. I want to pay off the mortgage in short period of time. I want to be financially free. The closest way that you be financially free would be not having any debt, any financial debt. So, because if you are in financial debt to anyone, whether it's a friend, or family members, or financial institute, it limits your income. So if you, let's say, earn $1,000 per week and you've got all of this payment, let's say $400 of that goes to the payment. So that means at a bare minimum you have to make $400, as an example, would be a mortgage repayment over 30 years. So that means you're obligated to make $400 per week before you can eat. That is a commitment. You're committed to make that payment over 30 years. Now, for some people say, yeah, that's normal, that's okay, I can bear that cost. So that would mean, let's say if you're working, pay $100 an hour. So the first 4 hours of your life, you're giving away that to someone else. I'm the other way around. I'm the other way around in the sense of, well, now I've got rental income and I don't have any debt. So for my first $400, it goes to my pocket on each week. So the first 4 hours again goes to me instead of to someone else, using that same example. So when you don't have any payment, that $400 goes into your pocket, goes to you, no one else. And you can do whatever you want to it. You can spend it if you wish, or you can keep it and earn more interest. So who really owns your house? For me, the financial institute, number one, and then you. But if you don't have any mortgage repayment anymore, then you're number one. There's no one else. Because the bank owns you until such time they release the deed and give you the deed on the property. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents, guys. This is based on property here in Australia from my own personal experience. Don't forget to subscribe, comment. See you guys on the next video.